Hey guys, Sarek here, and today I'm going to bring you Mathmech. This received a lot of support in Power of the Elements with the release of Mathmech Circular, and is now a much more competitive choice than it was, and is pretty cheap for the results that it can put up. I will warn you, it is obviously missing Accesscode Talker, which is a very important part to allow the deck to break boards and OTK. However, the deck is still playable without it, using the cards like Alembertian and Mathmech Final Sigma to end the game that way. So, let's get into the profile. We begin with 3 copies of Mathmech Circular. So, Circular sends a Mathmech as cost from deck to grave and then summons itself from hand, with the restriction that you can only attack with 1 monster. That's fine, that's not really a restriction. And then if you normal or special summon a Mathmech to the field while you control itself, then you get to search a Mathmech spell or trap. And each effects once per turn. This card is the starter for all of your combos. It's what you need to see. Again, the sending from deck to grave is a cost, not an effect, to special summon this card from your hand, so they cannot negate that bit, they can only stop the special summon. This card does so much for the deck, it's unreal. It's this single card that pushed the deck from less than rogue to putting up results at international competitions. We then have 3 Mathmech Diameter. Diameter gets to special summon a cyberse monster from the graveyard, with the restriction that it can't activate its effects. And then it's also a tuner, allowing you to make Final Sigma, and if a monster is synchro or Xyz summoned with this card as material, it gains the effect where you can negate a card or effect that an opponent's monster activates during the turn this card is special summoned. So we aim to bring this back with Superfactorial, make a Laplacian to break their board, and then give us an extra negate with that. Again, only works the turn it's summoned, but is otherwise a cost-free negate. We are then playing 3 copies of Addition and 1 copy of Subtraction. We're playing 3 Addition because it's much cheaper. Most decks play 2 and 2. Subtraction is about £6. Addition is less than £1, so that's the reason why. Both of them are free special summons from the hand at the cost of giving a monster attack or making a monster lose attack. Very, very, very useful cards. Doesn't really matter if you target your own cards with them generally, because you're using them to summon themselves out, and then you're going to make Xyz or Link plays with them rather than use them for the attack, gain, or reduction effects. Generally, 3 and 1 is fine. As I said, most decks run 2 and 2, but it's just one of the small ways of cutting the price of the deck down. We are then playing 2 Mathmech Sigma Male. This is a tuner, and if you control no monsters in the EMZ, you can special summon this card from the hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field, and then it locks you into cyberse monsters. If it's used as a synchro material, you can treat it as a non-tuner, so very nice flexibility there. It can be the tuner or the non-tuner for a cyberse monster, and is a free summon. This is the card we're usually dumping with Circular. To round out the cyberse monsters, we have 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. This gives us lots of extra link material and can also enable us to make some rank 4 plays if we need to. The other thing about it is it's a small world target, being a level 8 wind and sharing no stats with any of the other Mathmechs. So we can turn any Mathmech into Parallel Exceed into another Mathmech with small world, enabling us to search out the copy of Circular. We're then playing lots of hand traps. This is one of the few decks that still plays lots of hand traps at the moment. So we have 3 copies of Nibiru. This is really good against tier. They end their combo. They've used all their tier effects and you just nuke the board. We don't care about big monsters. We can easily clear the token without too much issue at all. We play 3 Ghost Spell, fresh off its reprint in the Crystal Beast deck. This card obviously negates graveyard effects, so it can stop tiers from shuffling themselves back, because they add a card from the graveyard to the deck or extra deck when they fuse. Also stops cards from banishing stuff from the graveyard, which can be really helpful for things like DD Crow and so on your circular target. We then have 3 Ghost Ogre, sorry. This is obviously a pop when something activates its effect. It can stop the tier field spell from breaking your board. It can stop them doing the mill 8 play with Kick Colossus, so they just get to mill 5 instead. It can stop lots of things on field from occurring. It can stop them doing stuff with like Nightmare Griffin plays and so on. Also really good against Rogue if people are still playing things like Sword Soul and so on. This card is very, very strong against Sword Soul. 3 copies of Effect Veiler, again, one of the cheapest, generic, best hand traps ever printed. We know what Effect Veiler does. It's still pretty good. The reason we can play it is because we're a compact engine that has space to play the big mass of hand traps that we can, rather than needing to play board breakers specifically. Three copies of Cynet Mining searches any cyberse monster we need. This deck is made up of small number of card combos, so as long as we can get to things like Circular, then we're fine. So the loss of a card from the hand, which could be something like a Sigma, which can revive itself anyway, or a target for Diameter to revive, is not always the most backbreaking, and just the generic search is too good to pass up. Same applies with Small World. We have lots of good targets for Small World in Parallel Exceeds and so on, which searches every single card in the deck, and it just enables us to get to the piece of the combo that we're missing. We then have one Mathmech equation. This is another search target for Circular. If we already have the Superfactorial, it's a Monster Reborn. Just some extra extension that's searchable. 3 Forbidden Chalice as more interrupts. Again, we don't really care about the attack gain at all. We make big bunguses, and it just makes it much easier to stop opponents' monsters from doing things, and it's cheaper than Imperm. One Call by the Grave because hand traps and things suck, and also tier sucks. So this obviously helps deal with those. Then we have 2 one-off traps, 1 Superfactorial, our main search target. We use this to make Laplation on our opponent's turn to break their board. And then we have 1 copy of Mathmech Induction, which gives us some attack and also gives us an extra pop, and because it's a trap card, we can use it to pop things like Mystic Mine if we need to. For the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Pre-Mathmech Alembertian. Alembertian can detach any number. You contribute it to special summon a level 4 Mathmech from hand or graveyard. If it succeeds summoned, detach up to 4 materials, activate the effect. 2, add 1 Mathmech card. 3, add 1 level 4 monster. And 4, add 1 spell trap. Normally we're searching a Mathmech monster, a Mathmech card that we need, so normally we're only detaching 2, but it's very flexible, very easy search target, and gives us extension once we've used its effect. 1 Pre-Mathmech Laplation. Laplation can detach a material to protect a Mathmech, and then if it succeeds summoned, you can detach 3 materials, choose that many effects. Each effect can only be chosen once, so you can send a card from hand, send a monster your opponent controls, or send a spell trap your opponent controls. This is what Superfactorial goes into: ripping a card out of their hand, getting rid of a spell they've or trap they've set, and a monster they've put on board can be incredibly devastating to the opponent's plays. For our Link monsters, we have the Link Disciple and Link Devotee combo. Disciple lets you tribute a monster to draw some cards and then cycle a card out of your hand. Devotee locks you out of Link 3 or higher monsters, but lets you summon lots of Link tokens, which you can then turn into Disciples and so on. Cyberse Wicked allows us, if a monster special summon to a zone it points to, banish a Cyberse monster from your graveyard and search a Cyberse tuner, like Mathmech Diameter. Update Jammer lets you, if it goes to the graveyard as link material, that link monster can attack twice. Really good with Accesscode Talker. Not quite as good without Accesscode Talker, but is still very useful with things like Transcode Talker. Which, speaking of, here is Transcode Talker. Update Jammer is also a wind monster, which helps making Heat Soul. Transcode Talker, while it's co-linked, gains 500 attack and cannot be targeted with card effects. You can special summon a Link 3 or lower Cyberse link monster to the zone it points to. So this allows you to easily link climb with it and Update Jammer. One Mathmech Final Sigma. Sigma allows us to OTK really, really easily. It's a big kaiju that some decks just can't out. It doubles battle damage if it's in the extra monster zone. It's unaffected by card effects at all, except Mathmech cards. And then if it is destroyed by a card effect, you get to search a Mathmech card. This is how we end games. We don't have Accesscode, so we make this instead. One Lingarebo gives us a trap negate, which is the most important thing. We are not using this very often, but if they side into traps and things like evenly matched, we can use this to protect the board. One Decode Talker Heat Soul. This gives us some attack for monsters it points to and lets us draw cards. Most important bit about that is we're playing lots of hand traps, so drawing extra cards and getting more hand traps and more interactions is really, really useful. One Splash Mage, very simple card, lets us revive any Cyberse monster that isn't a link. It's a water, which means it plus any Mathmech makes Heat Soul. One Almirage can be turned from any Mathmech that we've normal summoned into a link monster, put it into the graveyard, and go from there. And then finally we have the IP Unicorn package. Very simple, very good still. I've played this in so many different decks that can make link monsters. You'd be daft not to play it. It's a very, very cheap package for how good it is. So, that is Mathmech. I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. It's quite a quick one. It's a nice deck to teach people how to play the game with, because it focuses on lots of monsters with similar effects that all have a very nice, simple combo that you learn to set up your Heat Soul and your Super Factorial, but can also go a lot further and has put up results. Also, the hand trap suite can obviously be changed for what you've got. If you've bought copies of the Crystal Bee structure deck and the Albaz structure deck, you're absolutely laughing. If not, this is a great time to buy hand traps. They're all much cheaper than they have been. So, buy your hand traps now, people. And if you enjoyed my content, please like and share the video, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.